We spent the last few weeks running through the concept of designing an achievement and trophy list, but the big question remains, how are they usually made? That, my friends, is the $1 million question, or at least the £64,000 one. That's more, right? Yeah, well, anyway, we're talking with Codemasters, his racing team today, from producers to coders, about the usual process behind creating an achievement and trophy list. How do they go about it? Where do their ideas come from? We're going to find out what the people do, and who does what, and so on. Let's get started. This is a bit of an unknown thing. This is unprecedented. How do you normally tackle the achievement list and trophy list?
We would, once we've initially come up with this, sort of the broad spectrum of the game, we know the game modes, we know roughly how things are going to work, we'd then allocate it to one person to own the achievements and trophies list. And they would go away, try and come up with some cool ideas, and then we'd all get back together as a design team and go through their ideas. We'd expect them to sort of come up with maybe 100 ideas, and we could then whittle those down to what we thought was a good first pass. And what we'd then do is work with a code team and see what was going to be possible, what was really going to give us the bang for buck. If there was something in there which was going to take three weeks for someone to program, we'd probably put that to one side in favour of some other awards, and then refine it throughout the process of development, really. If someone happens upon something really cool they've done one day, then discussions can start about whether that could perhaps make it in place of something else. And then it's all about refining, balancing, having the QA guys, testing guys work it, make sure that everything unlocks and doesn't take an inordinate amount of time for scant reward.
So it's important to be flexible as well.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the whole of game development is a very flexible process. We're always having to adapt to things changing, things coming and going. And yeah, achievements are absolutely part of that. If we were to introduce an extra element to a game mode, we'd want to incentivise that. So we'd look at whether an achievement or a trophy could fit into it neatly.
And so you're a designer, right?
Yes.
What is your role usually in the achievement process?
Thankfully, the best bit, which is coming up with cool names and cool things to do in game. And in fact, coming up with the names is probably my favourite part of the process. It gives us a good chance to exercise our slightly geeky film knowledge and work on some pretty terrible puns for our own amusement.
I think it is good to get a programmer involved in the design stage. I mean, primarily because you need to be there to check that things are possible, and and like I was saying earlier, the balance between if something's going to take 2 weeks to put in a feature for one achievement, in that time what could we be doing which is which can improve the game a lot more. So it's good to be involved in it from the design phase. But during the implementation stage, we would be working quite closely with the designers just to make sure that if something is proving quite difficult, if we can change it slightly so it still has the effect, but isn't going to take quite so long and that sort of thing.
And what's your usual role in the achievement creation process?
I guess, like from a production point of view, we tend to oversee all the different groups implementing whatever feature it may be, whether it's achievements or anything else. So it's generally overseeing, making sure that the designs that are created by the design team are then brought to life, whether that's through the code team creating the logic to make them work, or the art teams that make the tiles, or anything else that may be involved. Like, for example, in naming them, if something was problematic from a licensing point of view, we might have to go and get that checked with our licensing team. So we just ensure that the whole process runs as smoothly as possible, and also chime in sort of ideas through development. So whilst you're building up the bulk of the game, you go through pre-production and then get the sort of bare bones of what the game is. In funny scenarios will appear and people will sort of say, you know, that should definitely be an achievement, or, you know, there sort of be in-jokes with the team, sort of pop culture references that match like locations that we've got in the game or something like that. We can then sort of chime in some ideas. So we do sort of work with the design team quite closely, so that kind of process happens as well.
Do you ever get the situation where there's this really cool achievement that you want to do and you've said, yeah, we'll do that, and then you start to run out of time towards the end of the project and go, we're going to have to leave that and get in a more kind of generic achievement? Does that ever kind of happen?
Not so much. I mean, the team here work really closely together, which is one of the strengths, I think. And so a lot of the achievements sort of evolve through development. A lot of them, although with the design team are sort of ultimately responsible for putting together and drafting the lists, a lot of those ideas that appear in there are actually fed through from the programming team and from other members of the team. So as they come up with an idea through development, they're sort of working on an area of the game, and they think, actually, it'd be really cool to have an achievement tied to this. Then they'll pass that to the design team sort of through development. And as a result of that, they tend to mostly be achievable and sort of from a technical perspective as well.
So how do you normally come up with the ideas? Is it just sat around a table on a piece of paper, or is it playing the game, or is it a bit of everything?
There's a bit of everything, but as I say, we usually entrust one person to go away and come up with the bulk of them, and it's up to them to use their creativity, and then they'd present them back to our design group, and we'd pick through what we felt was the best and what was worthwhile doing.
Knowing the code is quite good for suggesting achievements, because you know the systems that are in place already, and you know what things are currently being tracked and what there's logic for already. So you know what could be the best bang for your buck. To design a perfect list, you'd need longer than you have in development, I think, because you need
Well, challenge accepted. I like that.
Because you play a game that's that you've bought and it's got an achievement list already, and you play it to death, and then you start thinking of that'd be nice if they did this or that, but you've played it hell or not. So
you're laying the challenge down.
I don't know. Yeah.
You're laying the challenge down. You're saying it's impossible to make the perfect achievement list without playing it for longer than it's been in development.
I'm not saying.
So that's it, folks. We know about the usual process. We've been given advice from the Codemasters development team, and we've taught balance. We've also done our research, because we have to. Now it's time to get our hands dirty and actually start playing the game and designing the list. Now the fun starts. Join us next time. It's going to be legendary. Is that even a real word? I don't know.